What's going on, guys? I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be doing the introduction to Kratky method of growing hydroponically. I know we were going to be doing the community tour slash planting initially today, but just due to some wires crossing and not being able to talk to the head gardener face to face and kind of figure out where I should plant and where I shouldn't plant, that's not going to happen quite yet. I know that's going to be a little bit of a bummer. It is to me, but we're going to get there. We'll get in that garden, I promise. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and do a subscriber suggestion. We had a subscriber ask if I could kind of explain the Kratky method in simpler terms and kind of just explain it, actually, because I hadn't really done that before. I briefly mentioned it in my first video, but again, if you can go back and look at that video, I didn't really do very much as far as editing and that kind of stuff to make it seem better and to give a better description of what Kratky actually is. So let's get into it. So the Kratky method of growing hydroponically was actually created by Bernard Kratky in 2009 at the University of Hawaii. Bernard's method was to in turn take a commercial approach to Kratky style growing, which what he was planning on doing was growing leafy vegetables such as kale, lettuce, and spinach in these systems, because those kind of plants require less water for the volume that they put out. In his first way of doing it, he used polystyrene sheets floating atop water with suspended net cups in them. That way that the water level would lower as the plants absorbed the water, the nutrients, and whatever in the solution. And he'd have stops on each corner of the polystyrene sheets. That way, when it got to a certain level and he knew that the plants had a sufficient amount of nutrients, it would stop the actual sheet itself, but the water level would continuously go down. Originally named the suspended net cup non-circulating hydroponic system, the Kratky method soon became the Kratky method, just based on the mouthful that I previously had to say. Bernard Kratky was actually not the one that named it after himself. That just became a short term for his non-circulating system that people became more and more familiar with. The idea behind the Kratky method was to use less water, electricity, or no electricity, and less labor. So it makes less work for the person having to continuously fill water up because he's doing leafy greens. The water consumption for the volume that it's producing is quite less than what you would think. A little bit different than what I'm currently doing. His method was actually to use less space, less water, and grow leafy greens, like I previously had said. My system is growing peppers and cucumbers and all that kind of sort of thing, so those things absorb water much quicker. His was, again, more about the effectiveness of growing in a closed loop system. This is what was going to make Kratky so great for commercial use. It would have required a lot less labor, electricity, and manpower in order to grow the same amount of vegetables with less water, but the same amount of volume of those vegetables. So again, the whole idea of Kratky is just to encourage root growth down. That way, once the styrene pallet, in his case, my case, that's not really the case, but again, in his case, in the original Kratky method, the polystyrene sheet would lower down to a certain point, filling the entire plant with nutrients to the point where it had a lack of oxygen, and that way, when it hit those studs on each side and it stayed at that level, the water level would continuously go down, and the oxygen that the plant needed to survive would continuously be available through that layer of oxygen that wasn't there based on those stops that happened. I'd love to give his actual method a try when I have the ability to. Again, in his situation, there was a large tank of water with the polystyrene tube on top of it. I just don't have the room or the weight capacity to be able to do that in a second-story apartment. It would just make me nervous about leaks and weight. Because I think at about 8 pounds a gallon, water is quite heavy. Even the little 5 to 6 gallon totes that I have, that comes out to like 40 to 50 pounds of water when you fill them up to their adequate amount to be able to do the Kratky method. And while this rack right here is rated for, I think, close to 200 to 300 pounds per, probably actually more than that. I think it's closer to 500 pounds per rack. It still just makes me a little uncomfortable having that amount of water that can just be kind of sloshed back and forth and fall over, leak, whatever may happen. But again, I do want to try his method in the future when I have some room or I figured out kind of where I can do it. That'll certainly be one thing that I definitely try. So I want to go ahead and thank Russ from Conversation Shed. He's actually the one that gave me the idea to do this video, because although I hadn't thought about it, I really never gave a huge in-deep dive of kind of what started Kratky and the whole non-circulating hydroponic system craze. But again, if you guys have any other questions, any comments, concerns, like anything, please leave it down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video and you thought it was informative, please leave a like. If you're not already, please do subscribe. Hit that bell so that every time I release a video, you'll get a notification. And that'll do it, guys. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.